Greetings everyone! Today we dive into husband replacements. Smash that like and subscribe for more epic recaps. Every bit helps. Let's begin. The radiant Duchess, 𝒂𝒓𝒓𝒊𝒆𝒅, is set to dazzle high society at her debut. Most would tremble, but she remains unshaken. Her heart thrums with excitement. It's finally time to confront those who wronged her before the banquet begins. Whispers fill the hall. They mock her as a lowly adopted daughter who snared the supposedly cursed Duke. A scarlet-haired noblewoman stirs the pot, bringing up the Duke's vanished fiancés while waiting for the Duchess's downfall. This is 𝒂𝒓𝒓𝒊𝒆𝒅, the venomous queen bee of the social circle. But our girl struts in with grace, immediately calling out her blatant disrespect, an angelic face with the soul of a warrior. Truly a sight to behold. Jessica plays the victim, but Ailey's gaze turns sub-zero as she demands an apology. Suddenly, the Duke appears. Looking like a prince among men, 𝒂𝒓𝒅 commands Jessica to bow before his wife. Shamed, the villainess has no choice but to obey. With the trash cleared, the Duke invites her to dance. Good heavens, that smile! He is definitely moving to the top of my husband list. Their chemistry is electric, but the mood shatters when a hauntingly familiar voice calls out, "It is Joseph, Count Bonaparte's eldest son." But do not let that handsome face deceive you. This man is Ailey's past life murderer. Can you smell the sweet scent of impending revenge? 7 years ago, under a cold rain, Joseph caught her and took her life despite her pregnancy. Absolute scum. This monster deserves the most cruel and unusual punishment for his sins. Staring into those demonic red eyes, she swore a blood oath to destroy him if given another chance. The heavens listened. She wakes up to find her pregnant belly gone and her youth fully restored. Yes, she has regressed 7 years, back to the time before her descent into hell. After her parents were killed by debt collectors, she was adopted by Duke Grandier. Dazed by the miracle, her maid urges her to focus. A crucial event is fast approaching. Her maid warns that survival depends on meeting the Duke's expectations to reach her goals. Ailey realizes that staying passive leads straight back to Joseph's bed. It is time to sharpen her blade. At the ball, the Duke is captivated by her newfound elegance and poise. He leaves her briefly to mingle. That is when she spots 𝒂𝒓𝒓𝒊𝒆𝒅, a stranger in her first life. Her soul seems to pull her toward him, though her tongue remains completely tied. 𝒂𝒓𝒅 departs, and as Ailey seeks fresh air, she nearly collides with a panicked lady who vanishes. Suddenly, a chilling realization strikes her. In this timeline, the Duke is engaged to Count Gavon's daughter, but her life ends abruptly today. Right on cue, a scream erupts. Violetta has been found lifeless in the cold lake. Amidst the chaos, the grieving Count blames 𝒂𝒓𝒅, branding him as the cause of her death. Thus, the cursed Duke title was born, marking him as a man of ill omen. But Ailey knows better. This man is destined to wear the crown of 𝒂𝒓𝒄. During dinner, her father announces her marriage to Geoffrey Bonaparte. Ailey's heart freezes in terror. She knows Geoffrey will betray her, leading to her eventual marriage to the monster, Joseph. This cycle of tragedy must end. She boldly argues that this marriage is a political cage. The Grandier house has always maintained its neutral stance in the kingdom, but the Bonaparte faction is squeezing them to join their side. Vultures are closing in fast. If she can find a shield stronger than the Bonapartes, she can rewrite her destiny. She requests to visit Duke 𝒂𝒓𝒂𝒊𝒆𝒅, ostensibly to apologize, but her father senses a hidden meaning. Knowing 𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒊𝒆𝒅's shadow looms larger than Bonaparte's, he grants her permission to go. Stepping into the lion's den, Ailey faces Duke 𝒂𝒓𝒅. She apologizes for her upcoming audacity, then drops a bombshell by proposing marriage. What a queen! Up close, 𝒂𝒓𝒅's calm sapphire gaze stands in sharp contrast to Joseph's demonic crimson eyes. It is clear who was born to wear the crown. Yet, 𝒂𝒓𝒅 suspects Duke Grandier is merely using this fragile girl as a pawn for his dark political schemes. He turns to leave, but in her desperation, she grabs his arm. "You aren't cursed," she cries out, defying the rumors. Intrigued by her boldness, 𝒂𝒓𝒅 decides to hear what Asili has to say. They sit, and she argues that someone is clearly sabotaging his bloodline to destroy his every chance at marriage. He shares her suspicion, yet wonders why she would risk her very life to marry a total stranger. Asili bluntly confesses her hatred for the man her father originally forced her to marry. She offers the Grandier name to bolster his reputation. Despite her adoption, this alliance is a perfect win-win for both of them. She gains freedom from her past, while he uses her as bait to lure out his fiancé's killer. Shortly after their clandestine meeting, Duke Grandier is stunned by a proposal from Duke 𝒂𝒓𝒂𝒊𝒆𝒅, wondering why Asili chose the cursed monster over others. To avoid suspicion, she simply claims it was love at first sight. Her father smiles, amused, unaware that the powerful Duke 𝒂𝒓𝒅𝒄 is observing them with a hidden, charming smirk. That blush is dangerous. Soon, an agreement is reached. 𝒂𝒓𝒅𝒄 rushes the wedding preparations to ensure 𝒖𝒓𝒄's safety under his protection. I expected a typical 2-year contract divorce, but they are going all in. Honestly, I love this energy. Their secret wedding ceremony begins with only 5 chosen witnesses in attendance. Duke Grandier, Edgar, Billion, the Duke's escort, and the priest stand by as the couple prepares to vow. They exchange their official identification, and with a final blessing, they are pronounced husband and wife. That night, 𝒂𝒓𝒅𝒄 personally leads 𝒖𝒓𝒄 to her chambers. She's stunned he isn't buried in his usual paperwork. He gives her a tender look, proving he has time for his bride. Then, he softly calls her by her name. Her face flushes as he explains that, as husband and wife, they should finally drop the stiff formalities. She smiles warmly and whispers his name in agreement. Together, they walk toward the room that will be her new home. 𝒖𝒓𝒄 wonders if they will share a bed, a thought that triggers a painful memory of her marriage to Joseph. In her past life, she was cast aside to sleep in the servants' quarters. 𝒂𝒓𝒅𝒄 breaks her trance, announcing they will share this suite. They open the door together, revealing a room so beautiful it leaves her breathless. He suggests a stroll through the estate before dusk, but 𝒖𝒓𝒄 has a different request in mind. She turns her back, lifting her hair with grace, and asks her new husband to help unfasten her silk dress. "Our queen is moving fast!" 𝒂𝒓𝒅𝒄 turns bright red as his trembling fingers begin to undo the buttons. But his breath catches when he sees a jagged scar on her back, looking exactly like a sword wound. 𝒖𝒓𝒄 is equally shocked but lies, claiming it must be a forgotten injury from her chaotic childhood. She tells him not to worry and urges him to finish. Thankfully, she's wearing undergarments so things don't get too spicy. While 𝒂𝒓𝒅𝒄 is flustered, 𝒖𝒓𝒄 is frozen in fear. She knows that scar came from Joseph's blade in her previous life. She trembles, wondering why her 18-year-old body carries the physical trauma of a life she already lived. Interesting. As they explore, she notes the impeccable grounds, curious about the loyal staff who manage such a vast estate. 𝒂𝒓𝒅𝒄 promises she will soon meet the estate's key figures, Benjamin and the formidable Madame Marseille. He leads her to the Commedici secret archive, where their ancient family tree is proudly displayed for her to see. She is stunned to find her own name already etched into the lineage. In this land, royal titles aren't usually inherited. Most royals are just empty shells without land, and many nobles refuse to marry into families that exist only for show. However, the king granted the late Duke Commedici a true title, allowing 𝒂𝒓𝒅𝒄 to inherit both a prestigious bloodline and rank. 𝒂𝒓𝒅𝒄's father was the younger brother of the legendary King Ludwig II. This made him a contemporary of the king's sons, the future King Briam III and Count Merk. 𝒂𝒓𝒅𝒄 then shares his mother's story. His father fell hopelessly in love with Princess Rihanna during a grand ball in Descartes. While their union seemed fated to be perfect, a dark shadow loomed over their engagement. Count Merk vehemently opposed the marriage, fueled by his own obsessive desire for the beautiful Princess Rihanna. With 2 powerful men claiming her hand, the princess demanded a duel to decide who was truly worthy. The former Duke of Commedici claimed his victory in blood, leading to a rushed wedding just a month later. On their first night, the head maid, Rosetta, appeared. She offered Alia a special tea with a deceptive smile, claiming it would soothe her nerves and benefit her new husband, 𝒂𝒓𝒅𝒄. As Alia waited for him, her heart fluttered. Was he truly seeing her as a wife, or was this still just a cold business arrangement? Anxiety gnawed at her. Could he actually be falling for the woman who once died by his hand? Suddenly, 𝒂𝒓𝒅 stepped out of the bath, half naked and glistening with water, catching her completely off guard. Panicked and blushing, Alia blurted out the unthinkable, asking if tonight was the night they would fulfill their duties. 𝒂𝒓𝒅 froze, his face turning beet red. Realizing he didn't view her that way yet, Alia quickly retreated into an awkward silence, suggesting they simply go to sleep. Even so, the true motive behind the headmaid's calming tea finally began to feel incredibly suspicious. But the night took a dark turn. Alia woke to find 𝒂𝒓𝒅 standing over blood-soaked corpses, his sword dripping with fresh gore. Assassins were hunting her, and a chilling realization struck the residue in her teacup had changed colors. Before she could process the danger, 𝒂𝒓𝒅 pulled her close, kissing her hair in relief. That maid is definitely hiding something. Morning came and Alia confronted Rosetta, declaring that a traitor was lurking within the very walls of the estate. Rosetta stood her ground, insisting the staff were all loyal subjects who had served the Commedici line for centuries. Was she really suggesting outsiders could map out the entire mansion so quickly? Alia wasn't buying it. Impossible. Taking charge, 𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒓𝒄𝒄 demanded a full register of every servant and their personal backgrounds immediately. When Rosetta dared to raise her voice, 𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒓𝒄𝒄 snapped back, reminding the maid exactly who the Duchess was. The Duchess wasn't playing games anymore. 𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒓𝒄𝒄 suspected a mastermind who knew their secrets. His eyes turned toward Count Cartel Merc, the one man with the motive and the map. Confronting the Count, 𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒓𝒄𝒄 revealed he knew the king had fallen into a deep, unconscious slumber. Why keep it a secret? Young King Estelle had always been fragile, but this silence smelled like a conspiracy. Managing the throne was one thing, but concealing the king's coma was a treasonous act of high stakes. 𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒓𝒄𝒄 knew the Count was simply desperate to maintain his iron grip on the kingdom's crumbling power. He issued a chilling warning. The longer the truth remained buried, the bloodier the eventual fallout would be. That night, 𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒓 presented 𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒓 with her official wedding ring, a symbol of the union they had so hastily forged. As he slid the gold onto her finger, 𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒓𝒄𝒄's shock wounded his pride. Contract or not, he wasn't about to neglect his lady. Blushing deeply, she whispered her thanks, admitting she had never received a gift in her entire life. To cheer her up, 𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒓 invited her to the theater, offering a choice between a grand tragedy or a light comedy. Confused, 𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒓𝒄𝒄 realized no one had ever asked for her opinion before. He simply smiled, promising she would get used to being pampered. He was ready to spoil her rotten. Their solution? They would simply clear the schedule and watch both plays. The thought of their first date left them both flustered. Finally, a duke who wasn't a cold-blooded monster, but a total sweetheart. Swoon! The following day, Duke Grandier arrived at the estate, answering 𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒓𝒄𝒄's urgent summons regarding the assassination attempt. Handing over the suspicious tea, she offered him any reward in exchange for a secret investigation. The Duke agreed. While waiting for 𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒓, shadows of her past life emerged, haunting memories of the brutal abuse that still scarred her soul. Her trauma faded when 𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒓 appeared, his face lighting up with a genuine smile just because she had waited for him. They settled into bed, but 𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒓 couldn't stop blushing with him so close. Opening her eyes, she found him watching her with an angelic, tender smile. He was breathtaking. 𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒓 thanked her for staying awake, a simple gesture that made her heart soar. Gently kissing her hair, he vowed to work harder so she would never grow weary of waiting for his return. Just kiss already. Instead, they slept, only for 𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒓 to be jolted awake by yet another deadly ambush. While 𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒓 and his knights engaged the intruders, a stray dagger whistled through the air, aimed straight for her heart. Thinking fast, 𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒓 used her pillow as a shield. 𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒓 instantly cut down the attacker, ordering the survivor dragged to the dungeons. Trembling with fury, he pulled his wife into a protective embrace before surveying the bloody scene. The next morning, Duke Grandier's report arrived. The tea was indeed laced with a slow-acting, non-lethal poison. With the evidence in hand, 𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒓 cornered Rosetta, demanding to know exactly who brewed that wedding night tea. 𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒓 gasps as the traitor's identity emerges from the shadows. It was Benjamin, the estate's own head butler. When 𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒓 reveals the poison plot, 𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒓 is shaken. They discovered the butler's lifeless body amidst the chaos. It becomes clear the mastermind's true target was Benjamin. They needed him silenced to hide their tracks. Silenced forever. 𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒓 feels the sting of betrayal, yet his destiny as the future king remains. Ascension was always linked to marriage. His royal succession depends entirely on this marriage. Now, she will be his strength. Her second life has one singular burning purpose: divine vengeance upon the treacherous Joseph. To destroy her enemies, she must first lead House Medici to the absolute peak of power. Her first move? Seeking out Sophia, a brilliant apprentice hiding within a humble local boutique. This woman is a visionary whose future designs will take the empire by storm. Wearing her art wins hearts. Alia offers her the role of head designer, but the girl hesitates, blinded by her own low status. Alia ignites her ambition, persuading Sophia to finally embrace her hidden, legendary genius. That breathtaking gown from the start of our tale? It was Sophia's very first masterpiece. At the gala, Joseph sneers at 𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒓, mocking her for choosing a cursed duke over his family name. She crushes his ego with a sharp tongue. Enraged, he grabs her, spitting insults like a cornered beast. How dare he touch her? 𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒓 delivers a satisfying slap that echoes through the entire hall. As Joseph raises his hand, 𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒓 intervenes. He pins the coward down with a murderous, cold gaze. It is the ultimate tribunal for disgraced nobles. Since 𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒓 is royalty, Joseph's petty arrogance might just cost him his entire noble title and life. On the quiet ride home, 𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒓 wonders if she deserves such protection. 𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒓 gently reminds her they are partners, making her heart race. Steady your heart, Queen. Your reign has only begun. Meanwhile, Jeffrey proposes to Jessica. She smiles and accepts, while secretly plotting his eventual downfall. Jeffrey is a dangerous ladder climber, far too unpredictable for a cunning woman like her. Joseph is a predictable fool. If forced to choose, she prefers the useful idiot over the clever snake. It is a web of lies, as Jeffrey is merely using her family to secure his status. He only wants a powerful bride to guarantee his future among the high-ranking elite. 𝒂𝒓𝒓𝒊𝒆𝒅 overhears a chilling secret. The king has fallen into a coma 4 years too early. The timeline is warping. 𝒂𝒓𝒊𝒆𝒅 fears her return has triggered a butterfly effect that could ruin her plans. During tea, she mentions Sophia's endless designs. Seeing her so lively brings a rare smile to the Duke. But she remains wary of kindness. Her past was a nightmare of poverty and debt that swallowed her family's ancient legacy whole. To her, this lavish life feels like a borrowed dream she does not deserve. 𝒂𝒓𝒅 reassures her, noting how her changes have breathed new life and hope into the entire estate. Her cheeks flush. It's the first time anyone has ever truly expressed gratitude toward her. Finally, that night is their date. 𝒂𝒓𝒅 stands frozen, captivated by his wife's ethereal, moonlit beauty. The stoic Duke is reduced to a flustered mess, unable to look away during the carriage ride. He offers his coat as the night air turns cold and crisp around them. She hesitates. Earlier, Sophia noticed she wasn't wearing any of the lavish wedding jewels 𝒂𝒓𝒅 gifted her. Memories of Joseph's cold, cheap gifts still haunt her mind. Her ex-husband treated gifts like burdens, while Jeffrey showered his mistress in sparkling, exquisite gems. That old humiliation makes it painful to accept 𝒂𝒓𝒅's genuine, golden kindness. Yet Sophia insisted, promising the Duke would be overjoyed to see her wearing his heart. Now she feels a pang of regret, hoping he finally notices the necklace she chose. At the theater, 𝒂𝒓𝒊𝒆𝒅 is enchanted by the show, while 𝒂𝒓𝒅 is utterly spellbound by her smile. He fell first, surrendering his soul completely. Post-play, they encounter Albert Garavan. Seeing the Duke's joy, he explodes with rage, accusing his friend of callousness toward his late sister's memory. Albert's voice thunders with betrayal, condemning the Duke for finding a new bride so soon after the tragedy. 𝒂𝒓𝒆𝒅 steps forward, shocking the noble by claiming she was the pursuer. Stunned into silence, Albert can only retreat in a bitter huff. Though Albert's fury is valid, 𝒂𝒓𝒆𝒅 gently reassures the Duke. She reminds him he's a victim too, shielding his soul from crushing guilt. Enclosed within their private carriage, tension turns to pure tenderness. Gazing at her necklace, the Duke finally whispers the truth of her radiant beauty. The sudden praise sends a crimson heat straight to her heart. Nothing beats a man who treasures small details and delivers heartfelt flattery. Back at the Bonapart estate, the Count's patience snaps. His useless son, Joseph, has finally pushed things too far. The fool targeted not only a duchess, but dared to offend the imperial bloodline itself. Joseph pathetically hopes for false witnesses, but his father knows no noble would risk execution for a lie. That's when Jeffrey suggests a cold alternative. Cast the disgrace out. By disowning Joseph, the family name stays clean. Once the sentence is served, they can reconsider his place. They'll sneak him back as a secondary heir later to quiet the rumors. Joseph panics, realizing this seals Jeffrey's position as successor. Yet, his father's cold eyes show he already favors this ruthless path. Ostracized at the Bellucci Gala, Joseph becomes a laughingstock as nobles whisper about his humiliating clash with the Comedici. Escaping to the garden, he's blindsided by Jessica's embrace. She weaves a tale of secret, long-held adoration for the fallen noble. With crocodile tears, she laments their shared suffering, painting Duchess 𝒂𝒓𝒆𝒅 as a villainous liar who tormented them both. Hook, line, and sinker, Joseph falls for her trap. A dark alliance forms, though Jessica remains oblivious to her partner's impending ruin. Oh, the drama. But let's return to our destined leads. The Duke warns his wife of a late night at work, while 𝒂𝒓𝒆𝒅 reveals her own invitation to the Countess Bourbon's social circle. As twilight falls, 𝒂𝒓𝒆𝒅 enters the lion's den, greeted by the deceptively polite smile of the Countess. The realization hits hard this matron was her previous tormentor's ally, a woman who thrived on crushing 𝒂𝒓𝒆𝒅's spirit in her past life. Even more vile, the daughter present was the very same woman 𝒂𝒓𝒆𝒅 once caught brazenly lounging in her husband's bed. 𝒂𝒓𝒆𝒅 calculates the stakes. In this time, she should be carrying Joseph's heir. Her presence here signals a total defiance of that cursed fate. As she drifts into dark memories, the viper-like duo offers mocking concern for her health. They whisper of the Duke's stark curse, but 𝒂𝒓𝒆𝒅 strikes back with sharp wit, attributing their behavior to the mood swings of pregnancy. With a chillingly elegant smile, she exits the conversation, leaving the two socialites frozen in shock. Two pawns down, but the true queen of her nightmares awaits the terrifying Countess Bonapart herself. Her body instinctively shakes at the sight of her former captor. Yet, she knows the real battle is conquering the trauma within. Masking her fear with ice-cold poise, she seizes the spotlight while the elite social circle watches with bated breath. She beams with radiant joy, declaring the Duke's curse a myth and their passionate love an undeniable reality. She casually jabs at the Countess's age, suggesting the old woman has long forgotten the thrill of a lover's touch. The insult cuts deep, leaving the Countess trembling as if her darkest scandals were being dragged into the light. Defeated, she flees the room. Alia knows the truth in her past. She was the one sourcing the Count's secret vitality tonics. Point for Alia. She struck the villain right where it hurt and claimed a total victory. The gala shifts focus to a showcase of ingenuity, featuring a desperate man clutching a strange, explosive invention called a gun. The nobility scoffs as the weapon misfires, but Alia's gaze intensifies. She knows these tools will soon rewrite the history of warfare. Securing this technology means the Commedici will become an unstoppable force, immune to any shadow threat. She remains impassive, knowing that any visible excitement would tip off the hungry vultures surrounding her. She tracks him into the city's dark underbelly, ignoring her driver's frantic warnings about the dangerous slums. Deep within the shadows, she encounters a crone whose cryptic words suggest she knows Alia's soul doesn't belong to this time. Though burning with questions for the mysterious seer, she must prioritize her original mission. The inventor is slipping away, so she abandons the witch to pursue the future of the Duke's power. Upon cornering her target, she witnesses a cruel sight. The man is viciously striking a young boy called Jonathan. The sickening truth emerges from their argument. This pathetic fraud has stolen the boy's brilliant genius for his own gain. A clumsy sound echoes. As the man turns, Jonathan vanishes into the night. Ignoring the escapee, he stalks toward Asili's corner. She grips her dagger, ready to strike. But before blood spills, 𝒂𝒓𝒅 arrives like a shadow, shielding his wife from harm. Sensing a noble's power, the thug retreats. Safe at last, 𝒂𝒓𝒅's calm masks his deep, frantic worry. Even behind closed doors, Asili keeps her silence, guarding the secrets of her dangerous mission. Disturbed by her distance, he reminds her, they are one, and must face every storm together. He seeks the cold air, while she trembles alone. How can she reveal a future that sounds like madness? The shifting timeline fuels her dread. If this continues, the villainous Count Merc will seize the throne. She once believed their marriage was the only key to his royal crown. Yet the throne remains distant. A chilling fear takes hold. Another hidden requirement must be met. Does the secret lie with his original bride? Meanwhile, Jessica notices her body is changing. With her cycle late, a terrifying truth dawns. Is a secret life growing within her? Inside the Belucci manor, Jessica summons the staff. Every maid bows in terror before her icy gaze. Blazing with fury, she seizes a sword, vowing to tear out tongues until the truth is spilled in blood. A servant finally breaks, whispering that Bessie poisoned Jessica's tea with a dark concoction. Bessie collapses, begging for mercy. She was just a pawn in Lord Bonaparte's lethal game. Realizing Geoffrey Bonaparte, 𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒓𝒊𝒆𝒅 pulled the strings. A sinister smile spreads. She never expected he would dare such a reckless betrayal. Collapsing onto her bed, she grapples with the truth. Who truly fathered the child she carries? Remembering the brothers' shared blood, she finds a cold comfort. Composed, she goes to see her father. In this twisted timeline, it seems she belongs to Joseph after all. Elsewhere, Asili confronts Jonathan, exposing his creation. The boy trembles, desperately hiding his genius. He blames his uncle, but she offers him freedom. To build the perfect weapon, his eyes ignite with hope. With a knowing smile, she invites him to become her personal assistant. She has already readied his new workshop. Stunned, he fears his work might be worthless. She promises the freedom to fail repeatedly as long as each error brings wisdom. With that, they seal the pact. Asili knows this boy will be her greatest weapon in the coming war. In distant Ale, Queen Cordelia's rage boils over, shattering her wine against the floor. Sold as a child to a royal stranger, she was a sacrifice to Ale's crown. Stripped of her choice, she became a pawn in a game she never wanted. Her debut banquet ended in tragedy when her fiancé collapsed, cursing her royal future. Though she matured, his failing health forced a hollow contract instead of a wedding. Her reputation is ruined, a crown princess without a ceremony or a home. An outsider in a strange land, she remains isolated and mocked by the court. Hort offers apologies, but she demands power. Only a son, wearing the crown, will suffice. Understanding her cold ambition, the king accepts his grim duty to the throne. Suddenly, blood spatters the ground. His hand is like ice, a body already claimed by death. Realizing an heir is impossible, her anxiety peaks. 𝒂𝒓𝒅𝒄 must die before he claims her throne. But Merc warns that harming royalty is a gamble that could cost them everything. Stepping closer, Merc reveals a darker path. If the king cannot provide an heir, he will. To Cordelia, bloodlines matter little. As long as her child rules, she will accept any sin. Meanwhile, Count Thomas Ardinger, 𝒂𝒓𝒅𝒄's old friend, arrives in the capital, while his wife Sienna rests within their carriage. Over tea, Thomas joyfully announces they have found a legendary doctor for Sienna's mysterious illness. Asily's curiosity is instantly piqued by this sudden glimmer of hope, but seeing Sienna's face brings pure horror. She was 𝒂𝒓𝒅𝒄's destined empress in the past life. Guilt suffocates Asily, fearing her presence has robbed 𝒂𝒓𝒅𝒄 of his rightful path to the throne. Essentially, she feels like a villainous intruder. Noticing her distress, 𝒂𝒓𝒅𝒄 gently leads her away from the crowd. Sienna giggles softly at the sight of the two together, confirming the rumors that the Commandici couple is truly drowning in a sweet, devoted romance. Then comes the shocking news. Jessica Bellalucci and Lord Bonaparte are finally set to marry. This twisted union doesn't surprise Asily. It is a dark echo of her previous life's timeline. Her blood runs cold, realizing Jessica is marrying Joseph, one of the villains who once tormented her. Sensing her unease, 𝒂𝒓𝒅𝒄 reassures her they can skip the ceremony to avoid their toxic presence. Facing her enemies will be agonizing, yet Asily refuses to hide in the shadows any longer. With a cold smile, she accepts. Fear has died, replaced by a singular, burning hatred. However, Sienna's worsening health at the mansion begins to weigh heavily on Asily's troubled heart. Sienna's endless apologies for staying only deepen the mutual guilt shared between these two tragic women. A full year of sickness has passed, forcing Thomas to abandon the capital to protect his wife. Sienna fears her frailty shatters her husband's future, despite the beautiful love they clearly share. Asily vows to protect the Count, ensuring Sienna never becomes a grieving, lonely widow again. 2 weeks have passed since Jonathan first sought refuge within the safety of the Commandici walls. Overwhelmed by gratitude for his new life, he works tirelessly to repay Asily's life-changing kindness. Asily visits the workshop, where Jonathan admits he needs powerful explosives to complete his deadly invention. Using her secret memories of the future, our heroine knows exactly how to solve his problem. She promises to secure black powder from abroad, providing him the key to true destructive power. Once Sienna's strength finally returned, the Artlingers bid their farewells and departed the estate. Asily loathes her own jealousy, yet she cannot ignore the genuine love Sienna receives from her husband. She fears that in every world, Sienna is the woman 𝒂𝒓𝒅𝒄 is truly destined to love. Today, 𝒂𝒓𝒅𝒄 announces a trip to inspect their lands, inviting Asily to stay by his side. Regretfully, she must decline. Social obligations and local duties demand her presence at the mansion. Her heart jumps when she learns his departure is already scheduled for the very next morning. She offers to pack his tea or assist with paperwork, but 𝒂𝒓𝒅𝒄 dismisses every wifely gesture. He insists on carrying the weight of his duties entirely on his own shoulders. His averted gaze stings her, unaware that he is actually just struggling to hide his overflowing love. She begs to see him off. Her hopeful, cute expression finally melts his icy resolve. At dawn, 𝒂𝒓𝒅𝒄 is shocked to find Asily waiting outside just to bid him a final farewell. He turns a deep crimson, worrying that the biting morning chill might harm her delicate health. Or perhaps he is simply searching for a selfish excuse to hold her hand once more. Suddenly, his mood darkens with a chilling premonition of some horrible disaster befalling his beloved wife. Asily demands the truth. Is there trouble in the territory, or has she somehow caused him pain? He apologizes softly, confessing that the mere thought of being apart fills him with paralyzing anxiety. They have survived 2 attacks already, and the enemy grows bolder even when he is present. The terrifying fear of another assassination attempt haunts him the moment he leaves her side. Sir Edgar will stand guard, yet a sinister shadow still looms over the estate's peaceful halls. Recalling a fiancé lost to enemy schemes before, 𝒂𝒓𝒅𝒄 has doubled every security measure possible. Yet, the tragic ghost of Violetta remains a failure that he can never truly forget. Violetta's autopsy results were chilling. The poison confirmed a betrayal by a childhood friend's sister. Seeing 𝒂𝒓𝒅𝒄's crushing guilt, Sicily reaches out to hold his hand. She reminds him that his strength wasn't the issue, knowing he fought with everything he had. Her gaze is filled with warmth, pleading for his trust, and her presence brings him peace. He pulls her into a lingering embrace, swearing to return to her side very soon. After that intimate moment, Acelia finds it impossible to focus. Her heart is racing with excitement. Darling, this is truly catching feelings. Sophia keeps her distracted, buzzing about new fashion trends and intricate lace designs. Though the technical talk flies over Alia's head, she trusts Sophia's vision implicitly. Sophia's creations are pure enchantment, crafted for their debut at 𝒂𝒓𝒓𝒄𝒅's exhibition. She aims to weave a web within high society. Alia enters the exhibition alone, only to find a rare Santeri painting on display. This foreign technique had only just reached the borders of their kingdom. The hostess greets her warmly, but the noble women are already sharpening their claws for our duchess. The countess demands to know Sicily's thoughts on the featured masterpiece. What is this? An exam in the middle of a party? The ladies sneer, whispering venomous insults about her country roots while waiting for her to stumble. Alia remains composed, refusing to give these vipers the satisfaction of a reaction. But when they pity 𝒂𝒓𝒅𝒄 for marrying a family disgrace, her cold fury finally awakens. She can tolerate their mockery, but she will never let them tarnish the 𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒄 family name. Since these noble women claim to be experts, Alia decides to play their game. She praises the artwork's beauty but feigns ignorance of its technique, forcing the room into silence. The room goes quiet. No one knows the answer to such a modern art form. The countess's hesitation is the final clue. Alia realizes the hostess is a fraud. If this scandal breaks, the countess and her entire lineage will be cast out of society. Instead of striking, Alia remembers the technique, gracefully providing the countess with an escape. The countess agrees, now deeply indebted to Alia. A powerful pawn is officially on the board. Back at the estate, Rosetta serves fresh tea then. Total disaster strikes. One sip, and Alia collapses. It is clear that a traitor is lurking within the manor. Paralyzing venom courses through her veins, tearing at her heart with an agonizing, familiar intensity. This agony. It is identical to the day Joseph served her that fatal tea. He claimed her pregnancy made her a Bonapart, filling her heart with treacherous joy. They went for a stroll afterward, and that was when her fairy tale turned into death. Luckily, this dose is not fatal, though her vision fades into a blur. Rosetta is innocent, but the two maids who handled the tea have vanished like ghosts. Alia is certain. This toxin is the exact same weapon Joseph used to murder her once. In that past life, her peaceful walk ended in a sudden spray of blood. Begging Joseph for help only met a demonic grin. Terrified, she ran for her very life. But her limbs turned to stone as that monster hunted her down with cold eyes. He had planned to stage her death as a suicide, hiding his crime behind tragedy. Once his mask shattered, his true demonic nature was revealed, pure, unadulterated evil. Yet, Acelia knows the Bonapartes aren't responsible. Their current conflict hasn't reached such desperate heights yet. Count Bonaparte is a coward who avoids such reckless gambles. Only Count Merc would dare this, but she needs ironclad proof to destroy him. Suddenly, she recalls 𝒂𝒓𝒅𝒄's words about Violetta being poisoned. Suspecting the poison matches Violetta's, she dispatches a secret bird to her father for a full investigation. News of Alia's collapse finally reaches 𝒂𝒓𝒄, but without modern tech, 4 days have already agonizingly passed. Preparing to return, 𝒂𝒓𝒅 pauses outside Benjamin's quarters. Knowing a spy hides within, he begins a clandestine search. Hidden among the clutter, he unearths a folded parchment. One glance confirms it is the Count's own hand. The ink reveals a chilling plot. The lethal tea is ready. Benjamin is ordered to burn every document. Even with proof in hand, 𝒂𝒓𝒄 struggles to accept that the main character is the true mastermind. With the king failing, the Count is next. Since 𝒂𝒓𝒄 shuns the throne, why target Alia so ruthlessly? 7 days of stagnant recovery pass until the sudden thunder of wheels breaks the silence of her confinement. She rises to investigate, but lingering toxins cloud her sight, sending the room spinning in a disorienting haze. Unexpectedly, 𝒂𝒓𝒄 catches her in a sudden, warm back hug. Relief floods him, yet his soul freezes when she notes that this attack finally identified the poison. She explains that her father is already analyzing the sample, hunting for the signature of their shadowy assassin. Once the toxin is named, the trail of illegal trade will lead them to the monster pulling strings. Gripping her shoulders, his voice trembles with fear. To him, her dangerous logic is sheer madness. His gaze burns with raw intensity. In this Game of Thrones, her life is his only treasure. Guilt consumes him as he weeps, blaming his own negligence. Truly, His failure nearly cost her everything. How could the security be so porous? How do vipers still breathe within his very halls? Their tension snaps as a maid arrives. Her father's report is in, though the first poison remains mysterious. However, the concentrated dose in the recent cup revealed its identity. The killer is using the phenom toxin. Rare and exotic, it hails from 𝒂𝒓𝒓𝒊𝒆𝒅. Only the Belucci family holds the license to import such death. 𝒂𝒓𝒓𝒊𝒆𝒅 ponders the connection. The Belucces lack motive, suggesting they are merely pawns for a far greater power. A high-ranking predator must be pulling the strings. To confirm her fears, 𝒂𝒓𝒄 reveals the Count's incriminating letter. However, he begs her to stop. The thought of her cold, lifeless body is a nightmare he cannot endure. She feels his pain, but reminds him of their pact. Their union was forged to seek absolute truth. But just as 𝒂𝒓𝒄 prepares to argue her point, darkness claims her. In a vision, a girl veils her eyes. Then, 𝒂𝒄's frantic cries pull her back. 𝒂𝒓𝒄 gasps, her vision suddenly crystalline. Even 𝒂𝒄 is stunned. The poison's haze shouldn't have vanished so fast. Was that the soul lost in her past life? Or a fragment of a future yet to be? Regardless, 𝒂𝒓𝒄 steals her resolve. Brushing off the supernatural chill, she meets his gaze. I am your wife. Your battles are mine. Her unwavering loyalty pierces his heart deeper than any blade. She questions the royal succession. With the king in a coma, the Senate now holds the authority. Candidates must be spotless regarding royal blood. But the Count's behavior reveals a jagged, suspicious inconsistency. As the king's own brother, his path to the throne should be clear and unobstructed. Why hide the king's state and sabotage 𝒂𝒄𝒅's marriage? An ancient, forgotten law flickers in 𝒂𝒄𝒅's mind. The great King Esther once faced a similar dilemma regarding Prince David, his most brilliant young son. David was a genius, but his youth invited rebellion. A peaceful transition seemed utterly impossible. To prevent a bloodbath, the king devised a secret, paradoxical path to the crown for his heir. To qualify for this hidden right of royal ascension, only 5 souls in the entire kingdom hold the keys to these sacred, ancient conditions. 𝒂𝒓𝒄 realizes 𝒂𝒄𝒅 is the candidate. Past tragedies involving his parents must have triggered this secret decree. Curious, she asks for the requirements. 𝒂𝒄𝒅 reveals the 2 ironclad conditions the heir must fulfill. Survive until the age of 20 and secure the bloodline with an heir of his own. These words trigger a devastating flashback of her past life, where everything finally makes sense. Count Arthur fell to an assassin's blade, and the fragile Sienna was heartlessly cast into the streets. The Empire gasped when 𝒂𝒄𝒅 took the outcast as his wife, adopting her child out of sheer pity. 𝒂𝒓𝒄 uncovers the truth. The throne requires an heir, explaining why Merk is hunting every noble lady. Forced into the lion's den, 𝒂𝒓𝒄 attends a grand banquet with secret lethal cards up her sleeve. With the master designer Sophia and the firearm genius Jonathan, her shadow army begins to take form. Seeking a deadlier edge, 𝒂𝒓𝒄 encounters Jeffrey, her cunning brother-in-law from a tragic past life. He is a man who loathes the common born, his pride as sharp as a double-edged sword. Yet his hatred for his brother burns hotter, making him the perfect hidden blade for her revenge. Jeffrey dives straight into a proposal for House Kamadichi, catching the calculating 𝒂𝒓𝒄 completely off guard. Sensing his fear of losing his birthright, 𝒂𝒓𝒄 prepares to put his loyalty through a trial by fire. She coldly rejects him, pointing out his dangerous ties to the villainous Count Merk's shadowy faction. A test of truth. Jeffrey clearly knows Merk is the butcher behind 𝒂𝒄𝒅's fallen fiancés. If he cowers from the topic, it proves he is still just a loyal dog to the enemy. Shockingly, Jeffrey offers to plant a spy at the wedding, proving he is ready to betray his blood. With a chilling smile, she accepts. Meanwhile, Thomas warns 𝒂𝒄𝒅 that assassins are closing in. If you were only single, Thomas sighs, wishing he could trust Sienna to the Duke's protection. Destiny is shifting. 𝒂𝒄𝒅 reveals Merk's wickedness, vowing to become king solely to protect his beloved 𝒂𝒓𝒄. But the Duke's heart is racing. His feelings for 𝒂𝒓𝒄 have far outgrown their cold business contract. Therefore, he chooses to wait in the shadows, letting their timeless contract serve as his eternal shield. The pieces are moving. Inside their carriage, they journey toward a wedding that will soon become a battlefield. Our stoic male lead actually blushes while complimenting how the bracelet highlights 𝒂𝒓𝒄's breathtaking beauty. 𝒂𝒓𝒄's heart flutters. This is not just jewelry, but the first personal gift she has ever truly received. She softly confesses that every beautiful moment in this life is a first gifted by him. Her sincere gratitude strikes him like a lightning bolt, warming the Duke's once frozen heart. At the venue, the vipers whisper, mocking the pair for attending the wedding of their bitter legal rival. They can gossip all they want, for 𝒂𝒓𝒄 has come to turn this celebration into a funeral. 𝒂𝒓𝒅𝒊𝒆𝒅 frets over 𝒖𝒓𝒅𝒊𝒆𝒓 fearing the man will fall for her irresistible allure. 𝒖𝒓𝒅𝒊𝒆𝒅 just laughs. To a status-obsessed noble, a commoner like her is nothing but invisible dust. The Duke's confusion is pure gold. Her green flag husband simply cannot see anything but her radiance. As the sexes separate, 𝒖𝒓𝒅𝒊𝒆𝒅 is left to navigate the treacherous waters of the ladies' lounge alone. Boredom sets in as she waits for her prey, Jeffrey, to make his move in the shadows. Suddenly, she hears the venomous chirping of noblewomen targeting Sienna, all because of Thomas's popularity. They corner the weeping Sienna, snarling that a frail weakling has no right to stand near him. But 𝒖𝒓𝒅𝒊𝒆𝒅 arrives like a storm, her eyes flashing with the cold, lethal edge of a dagger. Even as a duchess, 𝒖𝒓𝒅𝒊𝒆𝒅 faces the arrogance of Baroness Tanis, who still views her as a peasant. 𝒖𝒓𝒅𝒊𝒆𝒅 crosses her arms, looking down at the small-minded noble with absolute, crushing disdain. She tears into Tanis, exposing her unsolicited advice as nothing more than pathetic, jealous harassment. The influential Countess Proud joins the fray, forcing the trembling Baroness to offer a humiliating apology. A useful ally found. As the wedding bells toll, Jeffrey prepares to play his part in the drama. After finding Sienna a sanctuary, 𝒖𝒓𝒅𝒊𝒆𝒅 tracks down Jeffrey, who is lurking amidst the garden shadows. He tries to weave a web of sweet flattery, hoping to charm the mysterious Duchess. He receives only a glacial glare, forcing him to pledge his full support to House Kedici's cause. Jeffrey reveals the truth. Joseph's only remaining ally is Jessica, and her loyalty is paper-thin. He prepares to unveil the final evidence that will shatter their lies and destroy them forever. This legal battle is no longer about justice, but a prideful war between the Comedicis and Bonapartes. Jeffrey's alliance might stain his family name. 𝒖𝒓𝒅𝒊𝒆𝒅 remains wary, questioning his true motives. Leaning in, he whispers a dark promise. He expects a grand reward once 𝒂𝒓𝒅𝒊𝒆𝒅 finally seizes the throne. Doubts linger within her. Why is he so certain of 𝒂𝒓𝒅𝒊𝒆𝒅's victory over Count Merc? He begins to reveal his cards. Count Merc is a predator watching 𝒂𝒄𝒅's every move, yet he hesitates to snatch the crown for himself. This strange restraint suggests a deeper secret holding him back. A mysterious thread tied directly to the late Duke of Comedici. Jeffrey kneels in a sudden pledge of loyalty, sealing his vow with a lingering kiss on her hand. Back at the ceremony, Joseph brags about his prize wife, while a humiliated Jessica flees the spotlight. Mocking whispers fill the air. The nobles see her as nothing more than a hollow, decorative trophy. However, the true sting comes when they compare her to a woman blessed with a truly devoted husband. Jessica crosses paths with 𝒂𝒓𝒅𝒊𝒆𝒅. Dismissing him as just a pretty face, she vows to make him crawl for her. Talk about delusional, you are at your own wedding, girl. With a venomous smile, she tells 𝒂𝒓𝒅𝒊𝒆𝒅 he needs a teacher to understand the complexities of a woman's heart. She throws a flirty glance, offering her guidance, but he is not buying her act. 𝒂𝒓𝒅𝒊𝒆𝒅 walks past her without a word, shattering her ego and fueling her obsession for total submission. Ignore that witch. Inside the carriage, 𝒖𝒓𝒅𝒊𝒆𝒅 reveals Jeffrey's intel to her husband, exposing the dark connection between Count Merc and the late Duke Comedici. A realization strikes the mysterious letter, where Merc ordered the destruction of evidence. The investigation into the Comedici estate begins now. At the training grounds, the knights gather as Jonathan unveils his completed masterpiece, the gun. The veterans doubt the young genius, but 𝒖𝒓𝒅𝒊𝒆𝒅 steps forward as his unwavering shield. She stakes her reputation on his success, promising to bear the weight of any failure. Metal armor shatters like glass under the gun's power, leaving the seasoned knights trembling in fear. Sensing their growing unease, 𝒂𝒓𝒅𝒊𝒆𝒅 steps in, promising that these weapons are a choice, not a mandate. With the demonstration over, the cold Duke instantly melts into a doting husband, begging his wife for a private stroll. The conversation turns toward the future, specifically, the topic of children. 𝒂𝒓𝒅𝒊𝒆𝒅 listens intently. 𝒖𝒓𝒅𝒊𝒆𝒅 explains her view, shaped by her father's lessons on love and family. A child should be a blessing of love, not a political tool. Her words make him beam with pride. He echoes her heart, vowing that their children will only be born from true, deep affection. He promises never to use her as a vessel, and 𝒖𝒓𝒅𝒊𝒆𝒅 finally weeps in pure, overwhelming relief. He pulls her into a tender embrace. Where do you even find a man this perfect? Meanwhile, the queen spirals into madness, tormented by her inability to produce a royal heir. She banishes Count Merc in a rage, triggering memories of his own twisted childhood. Everything changed when Princess Rihanna appeared. She and Merc were secret lovers before the Duke's proposal. Bound by duty and diplomacy, she could not refuse the high-ranking Duke's hand. Confident in his blade, Merc challenged the Duke for her, but Astron emerged victorious. Later, Rihanna confessed she had truly fallen for her new husband. a tragic end to a one-sided obsession. She begged him to move on, but the rejection pushed Merc over the edge of sanity. To protect her, Rosetta now tastes every tea, acting as a silent guardian against poison. 𝒂𝒓𝒓𝒊𝒆𝒅 senses a hidden depth to this devotion, suspecting Rosetta's true allegiance lies elsewhere. Rosetta denies it, but 𝒂𝒓𝒊𝒆𝒅 demands the truth about the rift between Merc and the late Duke. Rosetta trembles in denial, but 𝒂𝒓𝒊𝒆𝒅's sharp gaze pierces right through her lies. This secret is a burden far too heavy for her lips to ever utter. A royal decree secures House 𝒂𝒓𝒂𝒓𝒊𝒆𝒅, while 𝒔𝒄𝒄 delivers the lethal truth about the poison. Rage for his sister consumes Albert until the revelation of Count Merc's involvement shatters him. Acknowledging the king's silent slumber, Albert already views the ambitious count as the new sovereign. But 𝒔𝒄𝒄 reveals the hidden shadows blocking the count's path to the throne. A dark trail of blood explains the tragic fate of all his past fiancés. Now, 𝒔𝒄𝒄 unveils his own burning desire to seize the crown at any cost. Calculating the risks, Albert weighs the rewards of backing this dangerous new player. Albert threatens a secret alliance, but 𝒔𝒄𝒄 smiles, knowing his thirst for vengeance is far stronger. With eyes of cold steel, 𝒔𝒄𝒄 vows to claim the throne and crush their enemies. Bound by mutual hatred, they seal their blood-stained alliance with a final, decisive handshake. Leaving his broken friend, 𝒔𝒄𝒄 seeks 𝒂𝒓𝒄's presence just to remember how to breathe again. Yet, a mysterious letter demands his immediate attention before he can find his solace. Returning home, he confronts Rosetta. The terrifying truth she guarded is finally out in the open. Tears of guilt fall as the maid's silence breaks, her loyalty and fear clashing tragically. He honors her devotion to his lineage, knowing the full extent of the Count's depravity. What's your take on this twisted betrayal? That wraps up today's dramatic chapter. Like and comment for part 2. Subscribe and hit the bell to never miss out. See you in the next thrilling update.